Hello and welcome to this video on bearings. So bearings are essentially a way of describing directions using an angle. So we've got a nice little compass there with your main your protractor there with your main compass points on. So we can see that 0 degrees is north, 090 degrees is east. I've written that very well there. 180 is south, and 270 is west, and then obviously we've got lots of other bearings in between those there. So bearings should always be three figures. You will notice that when I was writing down 90 degrees for east, the east there, that I wrote 090 and not 90 degrees. If you had a bearing of 9 degrees, you would write 009. So you've always got to write it as 3 digits, 3 figures. They should always be measured from the north, so you've always got to start from the compass point north, wherever you're measuring from, and you've always got to measure clockwise, so that will be in this direction, so the direction that your clock goes. Okay, so when you are trying to measure bearings, you do need to know your sort of key angle rules relating to parallel lines. So if we look at this one here, we've got 2 points here on this diagram. We've got A and we've got B. We've got the north lines at both of them, because remember we always need to measure from the north. Now on this one we're being told that this angle here is 80 degrees. And what that will enable us to do is work out lots of other angles on here. So what that would tell us is that this one here has got to be 100 degrees. And the reason it's 100 degrees is because we've got two parallel lines here. The north lines are parallel to each other. So what that means is these two co-interior angles here will add up to 180. Now once you know that, this will enable you to work out this. So if you do 360 minus 100, that gives you 260. So that gives you another angle on this diagram here. And the reason I've done that is because this is angles around a point, which remember always add up to 360 degrees. And what I've done by doing that is I've worked out that this is the bearing of A from B. The one that we were given here was the bearing of B from A. So we were measuring from that north line at A. This one here is measuring from that north line at B. Okay, let's take a look at this first question then. Okay, so if we take a look at this one, it says work out the bearing of B from A. So if we look at the letter that appears after the word from, that's always important on this. We're going from A here, round to B. And we can see we already know part of this angle. We know that that little bit is 50 degrees, and we've got this dotted line here going south. So that's got to be 180 degrees because that forms a straight line. So if we add those two together, our bearing is going to be 230 degrees. Okay, two-part question for this one then. I would like you to work out the bearing of B from P, and then the bearing of A from P. So the first one is just a straightforward case of reading the diagram, because we already know the angle here. So we're going from P round to B, so that's just going to be that 120 degrees there. The second part of the question was a little bit trickier. So it says work out the bearing of A from P. Now what we know is we know that this part here is 90 degrees. We know that this bit's 120, but we actually need to know this bit as well to be able to do this bearing. And all of these angles added together should make 360 because they're angles around a point. So if we take away the 120 and the 90 from 360, that tells us that this one is 150. And then if we add that to the 120, we can see that the bearing is 270. So we're going from P all the way around to A this time. Okay, so on this one then, we're told the bearing of Q from P, but the question's asking you to do P from Q. So pause your video and have a go. Okay, so first of all, this is about using your parallel line rules. So we're trying to work out this angle here, this bearing here. Problem is we don't know anything about the right hand side of of this diagram. But this one here should be 110 degrees because these two angles are co-interior angles. So you just need to take away that 70 degrees from 180 because co-interior angles always add up to 180. Now this 110 degrees and this angle here should add up to 360 because they're angles around a point. So if we take that 110 away from 360, that will tell us that the bearing we are looking for is 250 degrees. Okay, so let's have a look at this question now. So sometimes they might expect you to do this. So rather than just using the information on the page, they might actually expect you to measure the bearings. So the first question says we're going to be measuring B from A. So that's going to be this angle just here. So you need to line up this cross with the cross at A. Your zero needs to be lined up with your north line. If we then go round to B, we get to here. So that should be 115 degrees for your first one. Now we're being asked to do the bearing of A from B. So that's this one. Now I could measure this if I wanted to, but it might be easier instead just to use my angle rules. So that one's going to be 65 degrees because I'm taking that 115 away from 180. Remember, these two angles are co-interior. Then if I take that 65 away from 360, because these angles have got to add up to 360, that will give me 295 degrees. Okay, so on this question, we do have to do a little bit more. So we've got to do a little bit of drawing here. So we've got this boat. Now boat C is on a bearing of 065 degrees from A and 315 degrees from B. And it says on the diagram, mark with a cross the position of boat C on the diagram. So we've got to work with these two bearings first. So first of all, I'm going to measure this 65 degrees from B. So that's just there. I'm going to draw a line for that. Then I'm going to go and work out the other one. Now, to make life a little bit easier for myself, I'm going to take that 315 away from 360. So that's going to give me 45 degrees. And I'm going to measure that anti-clockwise because we're going 315 degrees clockwise, so it's going to be 45 degrees anti-clockwise. It's going to be just there. If I draw on that bearing, you will see that our two lines cross. So what that tells us is the position of the boat. So it's going to be where these two lines meet. And that is it for this video. So thanks very much for listening, and please hit subscribe and you'll see loads more videos coming your way. Thanks very much. Bye bye.